I was in a hotel room, and I went there to kill myself. I had relapsed after being sober in my own strength for about 7 months. And during that 7 months, I began to ask God questions, and I relapsed. And that night, I was cussing at God, screaming at God, and all of a sudden, I broke, and I started weeping. I said, I need you, man. I need you to help me. I can't do this anymore.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures.
We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at,
Few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
because we are loved.
Because
loved.
we are loved.
We are loved.
We are
Because
loved.
we are loved.
My name is Brandon Sanders, and this is my wife, Cary Dawn Sanders. And I lived a lifestyle of addiction for 22 years until I found deliverance and freedom in Jesus Christ.
And at the age of 27 years old, while working as a nurse, I got addicted to pain medication. It took me down a long, dark road. But thank you that God called me out of darkness into his marvelous light.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Jesus Loves Addicts. Time to buckle up for part 2. Where we left off with you was your addiction is about to get started. Not get started. You've been an alcoholic for a while, but you're about to up that game. You're a nurse. You step into the field. Where does this go?
So, started working as a nurse. Had a great job. Had a few jobs here and there, but great jobs. And at the age of 27, I was about to turn 27 actually. I hurt my shoulder playing volleyball. I was just playing like intramural kind of sports. And the doctor that I worked for... I know
where this is going. It's so frustrating.
The doctor that I worked for prescribed Lortabs. And I honestly had never taken a pain pill before in my life. Even, I don't think I'd ever had a surgery up to this point, nothing. So I had no reason to. Took 2 pills and they killed the pain. They set in my medicine cabinet for the next year or so because I just took 2, put them in my medicine cabinet. And then a year later, I re-injured my shoulder. And I remembered I had those pills in my medicine cabinet. So I went and took 2 more pills a year later.
Now, this was not due to pain. This was curiosity.
No. It was a year later, I re-injured my shoulder again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So they had sat there for a year. I hadn't touched them. And that day, those 2 pills that I took that day, the feeling that I got that day was a feeling that I felt like almost like I'd been looking for my whole life.
And were you still drinking?
Yeah, but I was a social drinker. So I wasn't drinking every day, but I still went to the clubs and partied with my friends and stuff like that. Those 2 pills gave me a feeling, and it wasn't I didn't feel intoxicated. I didn't feel out of control. I felt like a sense of well-being, just euphoria, peace. And I was like, I like this feeling. And what I would do as a treat to myself, like somebody might have a glass of wine after after work or something.
You had a Lortab.
Every once in a while, I would just give take a pill here and a pill there. If I needed to clean the house or, wanted to do a project or, and then eventually, of course, over time, that turned into an out-of-control addiction.
Yeah.
Over the next year and a half, completely out of control. I began to steal from work. I began to go to different doctors. I began to call in my own prescriptions. And I did that for almost 2 years, calling in my own prescriptions and using the doctor that I work for's DEA number to do that with.
You talk a little bit about that, right? Because this really speaks to the power it has over you, because this is your livelihood. Your license is at stake. Everything is right. But you look right past that, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. Eventually it got to that point. Yeah.
Well, it's almost you don't have a choice.
Yeah. Well, because I was sick.
Yeah.
You get so sick. And so it just, So, I didn't care that I would steal from work at times knowing I was probably going to get caught, but I didn't care.
I'll explain that later.
Yeah. And so, but, I started calling in my own prescriptions, and that's where it got crazy because, that's what I did. It was almost like a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
Even after I quit the doctor's office, And I had worked there for 5 years. And this doctor that I worked for, the lady that I was using her DEA number, she was like family to me. Her children, I went on family vacations with them. I would babysit her kids. I was not married. I had no children yet at this time, but very close to that family. So I eventually moved like an hour away. So I quit that job after 5 years, but even continued to call in prescriptions from my home. And I was using about probably at least 15 or 20 different pharmacies. So it was like a full-time job every day, going to and then remembering where I called them in, and so I couldn't make a mistake, and it was real sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that before, there's a computer program now where you can was that
It
before
was
that?
before that.
Yeah.
So now, they have it where, you can't call it in one place and call it in another because they're all connected, but they didn't have that yet.
Yeah. Was quitting that job purely for a locational move, or were you nearing where you were going to get fired? Like, were you avoiding that, or was there?
No, it was just a move that I made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't because I was about to be, nobody had any clue at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was living a total double life. I was employee of the year.
Oh my goodness.
Still, I was still, but after I moved an hour away, sometimes they would ask me to fill in, because it was only an hour drive, and I would do that sometimes. But then they started noticing things. People that I worked with closely. Yeah. They thought they told me later they thought they really were like, there's no way that she's doing that.
Not her.
Not her. But there was, there were signs, but yeah. But eventually I got caught calling in my own prescriptions. It did catch up with me, and the DEA set up an undercover sting on me at a pharmacy.
Wow.
And crazy, but I was actually, the locational move at the time was I got married and moved an hour away. That's why I moved.
And is your husband clueless as to what's going on?
Clueless. Yeah. Clueless. I mean, again, he probably thought I was, I had some issues because I was sick most of the time. I was moody. There was so much going on. I was so up and down, but they never suspected I was an addict at that point. But I remember going into the pharmacy that day to pick up the prescription, and the pharmacy told me they were out of Lortabs. And I knew in my gut, I'm like, there's no pharmacies out of Lortabs.
They're never out.
So I was like, so I went to my friend's house, and I said, can I borrow your phone? And we didn't really have cell phones back then yet.
Yeah.
And so I went into her bathroom, and I called another prescription into another pharmacy because I needed to. I was sick. I had to. And but when that night, I remember I was on my computer, and what's crazy is that pharmacy, which was about 10 miles from that pharmacy, kept putting me off on my pickup time. I had to get home, and I remember that night I was sitting on my spare room, and I was already, of course, sick, feeling like crud.
Horrible.
And my husband comes in and goes, there was a knock at our door. I heard the knock, but I knew he was in the other room, so I ignored it. And he came into that room, and he's like, Cary, have you been calling in prescriptions? And it was just like
frozen.
I didn't know what had happened. And what had happened was, which is crazy, but we were a small town. I lived in a small town, and I was calling in prescriptions all within like 40, 50 mile radiuses all over. But the pharmacy that I went to that day that said they were out of Lortabs, I didn't know this, but he was, the pharmacy was actually a friend of my father-in-law at the time. And they used to meet for coffee and do this stuff, and I didn't even know that. But he called my father-in-law and told him that the DEA's been in here all day setting an undercover sting up on her. Tell her that she does not need to come pick up that prescription or send anyone to pick up that prescription because they're going to take her straight to jail. So he tried to help me by doing that. But long story.
I thought that was part of the sting, but it was actually somebody trying to
he
get
called later that night, and he shouldn't have probably done that, obviously. But so I didn't go in. They didn't arrest me and embarrass me. He didn't want me to be embarrassed.
Sure.
It's a small town, and everybody knows everybody. But they got me in another pharmacy. Not from me picking it up, but from a photo lineup. One pharmacy was able to photo ID me, and so I got arrested and for forgery.
Do you do time?
No, I went in, I got arrested, and then I hired an attorney, and I got pretrial diversion. So I was on probation for a year, and as long as I finished that with no failed drug test or no trouble, it could be dropped. But the truth is I never stayed clean the whole year. I never stopped. I couldn't stop. And
you had never gone all the way through withdrawal.
Well, I mean, I did a couple times, but I'd always get more pills, but.
Now, how would you do that while you're on probation? Like, how did you stay under the radar?
I just usually would quit 2 or 3 days before I would be sick.
Okay. So you would sort of know when you were going to be called.
And the truth is they've only tested me one time the whole year.
Gosh.
And it's kind of like that thing is you're never going to get caught. It's not going to be me. You're so deceived.
Yeah.
And if I am, I can probably talk my way out of it.
Right.
Sure
I was so deceived. And the truth is I didn't even care.
Yeah.
Looking back, that's the truth is I thought I was a little bit smarter than everybody else. And I was very deceived.
Yeah.
But I went through that. I did the pretrial diversion. I was able to get off without a felony after that. But I ended up going to rehab. My first rehab, yes. And from there, I went to the Oxford House. Y'all heard of an Oxford House, I'm sure. I went to an Oxford House, and I did.
That's a sober living home for those.
Yeah, sober living
listening.
home, and moved from a small town, and I was now in Dallas, Texas, going through a divorce. My husband was divorcing me, and
did you have children?
No, not at that point yet. And I did stop. It did scare me, though. I will say that it scared me about calling in my own prescriptions. I kind of got a little scared, but I remember I was stealing from work as well.
Have you lost your nurse's license
Not yet.
at this point? Okay, you still have. Wow, that's amazing.
Not yet. At this point, nobody had reported. Well, so when the forgery happened, I eventually got reported to the state board in Texas, but not yet. It wasn't long after that. But I was going to rehab, really trying to save my license, and trying to make things better. I really wasn't ready to quit, but I needed to, do that.
So it was motivated by your career, not your
motivated by my career at the time.
Yeah, I got you.
I stayed 30 days, which is not very long. And it was just a secular rehab. And then I went on to the Oxford House and lived. And I did stop calling in my own prescriptions. I got a job as a nurse. I worked there probably about 2 months before I started stealing from work there. And while I was working there, and I was already stealing from work just here and there, I got a call from the state attorney general's office in Texas that they were investigating me from stealing from a nursing home that I'd worked at. And they were
within that 2 months period?
No, it was probably a year prior.
Oh, okay.
They had been doing some investigative work on me. I didn't even know for the last year because I was stealing from work, and it was considered Medicare fraud. Anytime you steal from people that are on Medicare or Medicaid, it doesn't matter if it's money or if it's their medication.
It's the same.
Yeah. And so that's when the state board came down pretty hard on me at that point. And I went in to meet with the federal agents. They wanted to interview me. They wanted me to answer some questions, which I wouldn't admit to anything. And what's crazy is I remember I was living in the Oxford House with, other recovering addicts. And at the time, again, I thought I was a little smarter than everybody else. I wasn't the same kind of addict as everybody else.
I'm not like them.
No, I'm not like them. I mean, I didn't even realize I thought like that, but I thought like that.
Yeah.
There was a lady that was in the Oxford House with me who was addicted to crack cocaine. So she lived a completely different lifestyle than I did, obviously, but we had the same issue. She wanted to ride with me to the interview because everybody in the house knew that I had to go interview with these federal agents, and I was scared to death. And I had already made up my mind. I needed a lawyer. Probably I'm not going to answer any crazy questions. And truth is when I went in, I thought they were investigating the nursing home. I didn't know it was about me until I got in there. But she wanted to go with me. And to be honest with you, I have judged this lady in my heart, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want this crackhead to go with me. Like, they're going to see me with her, and they're going to think something of me. But before we walked upstairs to do the interview, we were in my car. She grabbed my hand and said, "Can I pray?" Now, I didn't know God.
Yeah.
Still haven't found God at this point. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But she prayed for me. And I do believe God showed me now, looking back, he showed me that that's what saved me that day. Because when I went in to interview with those federal agents, they started asking questions about the nursing home. And then the third or fourth question started asking questions about me.
Yeah.
And did you take this medication at this certain time? And why did you give this medication to this person? And I immediately, so I stopped. I said, I need a lawyer. And they never indicted me for that. And I do believe that
Her prayers.
Yeah.
That was your faith builder, even if you didn't know it.
Yes. And I did not know it for many years, but he showed me that later on. So
Were you, you'll have to forgive me for this question, but I'm trying to figure this out. Were you kind of a tough girl? Like, were you kind of an arrogant tough girl? Like, I'm not telling, or because I don't hear you as going in timid and sorrowful. I hear you a little bit with a.
No, I really wasn't a tough girl.
Okay.
No, I was scared to death.
Were you?
Honestly.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was scared to death. I'm a lot more bold now because I'm full of the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, man, yeah.
I mean, so I'm a completely different person now than I was.
You were an athlete, small town Texas girl, beat up the boys.
Little chip on your shoulder, maybe.
She was tough. Don't let her fool you now.
Yes, well, I've been
to her hometown a lot. I know what everybody thinks about her over there. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough. All right.
Maybe a little bit, but yeah. So, but then that happened, and that's when the nursing board got involved.
Okay.
And they tried to help me to keep my license, and I went through a program that I was supposed to go through a program called TPAPN, which helps nurses and doctors and any medical professional to keep their license.
Yeah.
And but I couldn't stay clean. Yeah, I couldn't stay clean. I couldn't pass drug tests. I wouldn't finish the rehab. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so they revoked my nursing license. So I lost my career.
Yeah.
Lost that. Yeah. And in the midst of that, again, I wasn't calling in my own prescriptions. I was in several different rehabs throughout the next 5 years or so. And I met a guy in rehab. Had a little rehab romance. Don't know if you've heard those words before.
Oh, yeah.
Always a good idea. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Always the best idea. Yeah. So I met him, and he introduced me to heroin. And that's what took me down a really long, dark road from there. So I never touched a pill again. Didn't need to.
You didn't need to. I was fixing to say that.
Yeah, didn't need to.
Long, dark road. How long?
Well, at least for the next 12 years, off and on. Wow. I mean, when I say off and on, meaning, you know how when you're an addict, you try to change location.
Yes.
You do everything in your power to try to stay clean or get clean, I mean. So I would move and, change jobs, all the things that we do. Go get help, go get an antidepressant. I mean, anything and every AA, CA, whatever A. I've done it all.
Yeah.
Trying to get clean, but, nothing ever stuck. But one of those times I moved to my mom's hometown, which is a real small town, because I knew there was no heroin there. But the truth is the problem was following me everywhere I went. And it was looking in the mirror back at me. It was me. And so they didn't have heroin, but I eventually, after being there a little while, found meth. So, I mean, I've literally been addicted to everything. Off and on. But for the next 12 years, long, dark road.
Now, how did you support it? Did you also get into selling, or was there some other?
Well, I mean, I did at times, but mostly, I was usually with men that helped supply my stuff. But also, I sold myself for drugs.
Okay.
I did anything and everything to get high. Stole.
Thank you for that admission. I know that's difficult, but it really does speak to how far away from our character it takes us, because that's not who you are, right? But it's who you become under that. Were relationships part of your addiction, do you think? Were you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was addicted to attention from men.
Yeah.
Bad relationships, just one to the next. And, that was a major issue for me. Yeah. Major.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about that, just that it's unrecognized, that it's just as much an addiction as the heroin was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So when I get sober, then I get into a relationship, and then I get high again. And
and one feeds the other, right? Like you said, you meet this guy in treatment, that leads you back in, and it's kind of a volley back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say something that I have no idea. This is not backed by fact. I'm curious. I would assume, maybe because I'm a guy, that's more prone, and although I say this as somebody who was addicted to a relationship, but I don't know why. Was that part of your addiction? I don't know why I would think maybe that's more of a female thing than a male thing.
I was really. I was addicted to a certain type of people that I would be in relationships with, but I wasn't addicted really to relationships. Because I had issues with commitment.
Right. Yeah.
And I was, so.
I guess I would probably be, having been addicted to relationships, I would say I've seen it more in women.
I think so.
We see it more in women,
and yet,
doing what we do now.
I think that's true.
I was typically addicted to the relationships that were toxic, abusive, and that I made them worse. I made that person worse I mean, they might have smoked
Well, and
pot
vice
by the time
versa,
we were
probably.
done.
Yeah.
You had met some other
Absolutely.
We
demons.
teach our students the number one cause of relapse is premature relationships.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Getting back in relationships before you're healed and ready.
Yeah.
Yes.
And these old emotions and feelings and insecurities start coming up.
Yeah.
And
I'm sober. I must be ready to get
I'm
married.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
One of the wisest pieces of advice that used to be commonplace, I don't think it's as commonplace anymore in treatment centers, but
A
was
year.
this idea of 1 year, no relationship,
Oh,
right?
we tell them 2 years.
I tell them too.
Oh, well, good for you. Good for
I
you.
tell
Yeah.
2
them.
years.
I teach the relationships, and I'm like, okay, well, how long does research? And they're like, 1 year, and I'm like, but how long do I say? 2. And every now and then one of them will say, but
Yeah,
3
Jesus-
if you're really determined.
Yeah.
Jesus said if they ask you to go a mile, go 2.
Yes.
If they tell you to go 1 year, I'm going to tell you to go 2 years. That's what we're going to
and
say.
I dare you to go 3. It's going to be even better.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
a heavy
that's
lift.
where those deep roots
Yes.
come from, as we were just talking about the same sex attraction. It's so deep.
Yes.
It brings up so much familiarity and so much insecurity that I find people deal with, the need to be loved, the need to be accepted. Everybody's looking for validation.
Sure.
You're right.
And that's an area where we find validation. I mean, a lot of times, yes, addiction is a disease of the brain, but it's also a disease of the soul. There's a brokenness in us, and community is what we find in addiction. Most of our relationships are centered around that addiction, and so that same thing starts to come to the surface, and I find it leads us back a lot of times. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not conditioned to good community, you will find bad community or destructive. I mean, constructive community versus destructive community. So, Cary, one of the things Brandon talked about was his addiction took him so far down there. He had these suicidal ideations. Was that ever true of you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You also wrestled with that.
I won't use the word courage since you don't like that word.
Thank you.
But I was a coward. I wouldn't have ever really truly gone. But I mean, every time I shot dope,
You didn't
I
care.
died.
Okay. So
That was kind of. But no, I hate. At the end of my addiction, I hated myself so much I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I wanted to die. I mean,
did you ever overdose, like even unintentionally?
Oh yeah, I overdosed several times and was hospitalized, and I was in the hospital several times for like MRSA in my bloodstream, cotton fever, they call it sometimes, from shooting up. So yeah, I've been hospitalized probably 5 or 6 times.
All right, you're a nurse. MRSA, is that septic? Is that going?
Staph.
Is that
Yeah,
being
it's a
septic?
staph infection in my blood.
Okay.
And I was in the hospital 2 weeks for that. My hand was like 10 times the size that it's supposed to be from shooting up. I mean, I should be dead, like a lot of people, and only for God's grace and mercy that I'm still sitting here today.
And you would think, and you hear people would say all the time, surely that's enough.
Right.
I considered someone a friend that I went through a program with, and she ended up having MRSA so bad that they removed her hand and she had a prosthetic.
Yeah.
And she still died of an overdose.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah,
And
that particular hospitalization, I went in and my hand was, it was crazy big, huge. I was in so much pain. Went in there, they started giving me antibiotics. It started going down, and so I had a hep lock, where you put the IV in.
Yeah.
And probably about 3 or 4 days before they discharged me, I was feeling back to myself again, but I knew I was going to have 2 or 3 more days of antibiotics. But when the nurse came and did her rounds, when she left, I knew she wouldn't be back for a couple hours, so I left the hospital and went and got dope and shot it right in my hip lock.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did that quite a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's really sick, when you're about
But
to
it
die,
is.
but you still do it. So,
Well, and sick is the word. We're
Yeah,
literally
very
sick.
sick.
So. I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's thrift stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's thrift stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's thrift stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
Would you guys say, so I hear so many addicts talk about this, and there's a teaching that includes this, but would you guys say at the end of this, because right, we go from this place of being high, talking about using, it gets us high, there's this element of raising our level of enjoyment, to this place at the end, would you guys have said, because you're not describing very enjoyable things now, MRSA, suicidal ideation, self-loathing. At that point, has it changed to, I just got to use to get through the day?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We're just literally,
It stopped
Absolutely.
being fun or anything a long time
ago.
But
And
this
now
is
you're
all I know.
It's all you know. You're just surviving.
Yeah.
You've gotten accustomed to the lifestyle.
Sure.
You don't see a way out of it.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
and
is
you were
so-
taught from a young age, I'm sorry,
No.
but this is what you're always going to be.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
literally what I'm always going to
Yeah.
Then again, it goes back for me. I know for me too. I mean, the community. It's what we do now.
yeah.
These are my
This is what
people.
we do. Like you go eat breakfast with your family. We go get high together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Yeah.
how we start our day. And then we hustle and do whatever we need to do to survive.
But that trajectory downward where it's taken all away is so descriptive of how the enemy works, right? I mean, he comes in, wines you and dines you, earns your trust, earns your loyalty, and then, man, just takes it all from you tenfold, right? I mean, that's such the deceptive nature of the enemy. And nothing, I think, portrays it better than addiction.
Yeah, you lose yourself.
Amen.
You lose
It's a possession.
You
I mean,
compromise your own moral your own humanity.
Yeah.
You lose your humanity.
You have nothing left.
And you feel that way. I felt like a dog, like I'm a stray dog.
Yeah.
And there's no hope for me. And I remember there was one time, even though I share my stories with you, I still had some sense of morality.
Yeah.
Like I was very protective of my family. To me, that was my sense of morality. I had a niece that loved me. She loved Uncle Brandon because I would still come see my sister. She was older, doing her thing. There were times I would live with her and bounce around. But there were moments of sobriety, a few months here and there. I never stayed sober longer than 6 months until I really had my encounter with Jesus. But I remember I always made a promise, I'll never do my niece wrong. I'll never take anything from her because she thought I was Superman and she loved me and she never saw the bad part of me. She only saw the good in me.
Yeah.
And she was the only person that I felt like, man, she believes in me. And she's a kid, 5 years old. So I was out on a binge one time and I had gotten it clean and, you know, my sister was at that time a single mom. And she said, yeah, you come hang out of the house a little while, get you something to eat. And I did. And I remember I wanted to get high and my niece's piggy bank was in her room.
Yeah, there you go. Another line cross.
And I remember it's like this moment that I had, like I knew if I do this, there is no coming back. I'm about to cross the
last not ever.
sense of humanity that I have left. This is the one line that I promised myself I would never cross, the one person that I said I would never hurt. And if I do this, I know there's no coming back. And I can remember like going in the bathroom and literally fighting with myself. Like I was two people like, don't do this, man. Don't do this. Don't do this. And I did it. And I remember I used to go jump a fence to go to the hood.
Yeah.
And I remember being at that fence and this voice saying, man, if you jump this fence, you'll never come back. And I did. Yeah. And I went deeper and darker than I had ever been before. So there were moments, I think there's moments, when you talk about some of the things the women have to do, there are moments where you lose parts of yourself.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And the more you lose those parts of yourself, the more you feel like
it's
over
slow,
with.
but it's
Yeah, you know what though? You say this profound thing. You said, "If I do this, I'll never come back." And somebody might be looking at you and saying, "Well, you did." But the reality is that was a very true statement. You know what? The reality is when you go that far, you don't come back.
Yeah.
Jesus brings you back. You can't get back from that place other than the hand of God reaches in and pulls you out.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the power of redemption, man.
Amen.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, it's just So. All right. So in your story where you left off, living in a small town now, still kind of are you about to find recovery here? Are you about to go into treatment for the last time? Is this where we're nearing?
Yes. And remember all this time, no God anywhere in my life.
Yeah.
And again, I needed help. I wanted so badly to get off heroin and at this time I think I was on meth, but either way, I mean, I just wanted to get off.
Yeah.
And so I went to my mom again, like, I need to find somewhere to go. You know, I need to go to another rehab. So a friend of hers told us about a place called Teen Challenge. Mm-hmm. And so I went to Teen Challenge in Channelview, Texas, faith-based. I'm sure everybody knows what Teen Challenge is. But I'd never been to a place like that before. Mm-hmm. So I get there, and it's spirit-filled, tongue-talking, laying hands on each other. And the first day that I was there, I really thought I was at a cult.
Yeah. Shell shock.
Yeah, I was shell shocked.
I thought the same thing.
And I was looking around trying to plan my escape. But I didn't know where I was.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I had taken Xanax on the way there. So I was clueless. I didn't know where I was. And but what's crazy is after being there about a week, it was like I wanted what they had.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that they were just clean and sober. It was the Holy Spirit in them. I'd been drawn to that my whole life. I just didn't know. Like, that's what I'd been looking for my whole life. I just didn't know. So I stayed. And at Teen Challenge is where I found God. And I got filled with the Spirit there. And I began to read my Bible. And I began to understand the Bible. And I began to have a desire to read the Bible. And Teen Challenge was a 1-year program. But my husband, I had been married, in the midst of that, I'd gotten married again. And I had a son, my son Connor, and my husband was about to divorce me. And I knew he would get full custody of my son. So I'd been at Teen Challenge about 3 months. And I came up with this idea that I needed to leave so I could file for divorce first so I could get custody of my son. I mean, it was my plan, not God's plan.
Yeah.
Seemed like a good plan. I went to my counselor there and told her my plan, and she said, God is a God of completion. If you interrupt what he's trying to do, you're interrupting. I mean, if you leave before the 12 months, you're not completing what he started. But I didn't listen because I had my mind made up.
Sure. He didn't bring you to a 12-month program to do 3.
To do 3. But, I had my mind made up. And I was on fire for Jesus. Yeah. And
I'll never go back.
I'll never go back. I've never felt so good in my whole life. And you can't smoke cigarettes there, so I had to quit smoking and everything. And so it's been 3.5 months. Called my mom. The counselor called, and the counselor told her that she shouldn't leave, but she came and got me anyway. My mom. And I think the first thing that I did, the first door I opened was smoking cigarettes. Immediately, within 2 days, I was smoking cigarettes. And it took about 7 or 8 months for me to truly, completely relapse. I went back to my mom's small hometown, and I did try. I went to church, and I started going to this Bible study, and I filed for divorce first, and I got full custody of my son.
I will still say 7 to 8 months is a pretty significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Leaving a program.
On your own strength.
Really.
Yeah, it was. And I didn't use for that 7 or 8 months. But I got full custody of my son, like I said, but I ended up losing him, completely losing him 2 years later. So, but that's when, after I relapsed, after coming out of Teen Challenge, the next 2 years were really dark and demonic. And that's when I really lived. I lived on the streets.
Yeah.
Truly lived on the streets. And I was a junkie. Yeah.
So again, this is one of those moments in the story that I like to capitalize on because, if somebody's out there listening and they have some doubts or even criticisms of the faith, this is the part they hop on. Well, they got saved. How could they go back? Listen, God is a God of truth and of love, which is why he is so clear in his word that once we are saved, we are to cling closely to the vine. Just being saved doesn't mean that we are now invincible. We still live in a broken world, in a lost world with an enemy that's now more eager to get at you. We have to stay. So there's a difference between being saved and being disciplined in that salvation and clinging to the Lord, right? It doesn't mean that the salvation wasn't real. It just means there's lots of sanctification for us to go through.
I was saved, but I had a whole lot of stuff to come off of.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
I'm still going through it.
Amen.
I'm 16 years, almost 17 years.
That's just
in,
awesome.
But God
Well,
is,
this side of heaven, that's the process for all of us, right? So,
That's right.
So listen, let's jump here. So you guys are. So I'm assuming this leads you now to another treatment. With the next one the one that clicks for you?
Yes.
And I shouldn't really say the one that clicks because, like one of you mentioned, everything happens as a seed. It's not that the other ones failed; they planted seeds that eventually made the final one, right? So, and I'm also curious in this next treatment, just because. To jump us ahead, is this where you guys meet?
This is where we meet.
Hey, come on, let's open that chapter.
But we weren't in treatment when we met, but this is where we met.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I ended up at the Wings of Life.
Okay.
I eventually, through a series of events, I had an encounter with the Lord. I felt it was a real experience with God, and I prayed a prayer, Lord, please send me somewhere. I was in a county jail, and I used to always pray, God, send me somewhere. Get me out of the world. I want to get to know you. And I came to Mobile, Alabama. I was on my way to New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina had happened, and I knew there was still a lot of work going on down there, and I'd been in that area, lived down there before. And so I stopped in Mobile, and long story short, through a series of events, I ended up at the Wings of Life. At the Wings of Life, I just, decided this is where I'm really going to surrender to Jesus, and I'm going to become a part of this process of getting to know him and following his word, and that's what I did. I settled in. During that time, I got filled with the Spirit. I felt the Lord calling me to help other people. So the people that were working there began to mentor me and help guide me. I felt like I had a call to help kids and to help families that were dealing with addiction. So when my wife got there, my future wife got there, I started an outreach program.
You were working for the program,
I was working working for the program.
All right, let me pause you because I know, and I'm guilty. I said let's move because I know that there's a time constraint on your end too, but I don't want to miss some key element. You have gone from a place of anger at God to a place of saying to God in a prison cell, I want to know you.
Put me somewhere just to be with you.
Surrendering to him. What was the aha moment? What clicked for you?
I was in a hotel room and I went there to kill myself. I had relapsed after being sober in my own strength for about 7 months. And during that 7 months, I began to ask God questions, and I relapsed. And that night, I was cussing at God, screaming at God, and all of a sudden, I broke, and I started weeping. I said, I need you, man. I need you to help me. I can't do this anymore. And in that weeping, I really felt the presence of God come into that room. And I felt something say inside me, you're ready.
Amen.
And I said, I'll follow you forever. I need you in my life. Please help me. Please help me. I woke up the next day, and what I remember, I fell asleep on that bathroom floor in a $29 hotel room beside a truck stop in Montgomery, Alabama, that I used to hustle out of. The first thing I remember is when I opened the door, I was on Southern Boulevard, if you ever know anything about Montgomery. It's a very busy intersection, a lot of trucks coming in and out. I didn't hear the traffic. I heard the birds. And God reminded me of when I was a kid, I would go to the woods and lay down on the floor in the forest and listen to the birds. That was my serenity and my peace. And I prayed. I said, Lord, as I had prayed in jail, send me somewhere, please. And I ended up at the Wings of Life. So that was a moment for me.
So you were already ready to hear when you went through
When
those
I went
doors.
to the Wings, I feel like I was already saved without knowing the whole process of
What it
being
looked like.
saved
Yeah.
and what that
Great
looked like.
point.
I
love
went
that.
looking for God. I was praying for a place, and I believe that God divinely led me to the Wings of Life.
Yeah. All right. So sorry, you're saying some things that I really feel like need at least a moment because I've not heard anybody say that line that you just said, and I think it's really powerful. You said when you got there, you were probably already saved. So many times we point to somebody sitting us down and walking us through this prayer. But the reality is salvation happens through a broken, contrite spirit that turns to the Lord wholeheartedly. And you had done that.
Yes.
So is that kind of what you mean? Like you had received.
I tell people like this, I got saved in that hotel room with no preacher, no choir.
Yeah.
And not even knowing how to pray.
Like the
I
thief
was a
on the
broken
cross.
man with a broken heart and a broken life. And I was crying out to God, and he met me right there in the middle of my brokenness.
I love that.
That is
It says he's close to the brokenhearted, and the sacrifices of God are broken heart and a contrite spirit. And I believe God meets us there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe even in church, we do altar calls and people come and they walk. Well, the moment that you stepped out, the moment that you decided to walk up for me, that's the moment that something's happened in your heart.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because it's not about the formality. Not that there's anything wrong with a formal prayer somewhere.
I follow everybody up with the formality. I'm a pastor. I got to make sure we seal the deal, so.
But I think sometimes we love it too much, right? Because that the real
if we don't
power
hear it,
happens.
then it's not real.
Yeah.
I definitely.
The real transformation happens behind that formality, right? So, wow. Okay. So graduate, you're on fire, working for Wings of Life. Cary comes into the program.
I think you'd been there about 3 years or so. Yeah. But so when I got out of Teen Challenge, I told y'all I relapsed after 8 months, and the next 2 years were really dark and demonic. And but the whole 2 years that I was on the streets, I was aching for the Lord. Like I knew I needed to get back to Him, but it's like I just couldn't because I was in such bondage. But I remember 2 weeks before coming to the Wings of Life, I went to the psych ward in Dallas, Texas, at the hospital. Told them I wanted to kill myself because I had heard through the grapevine that if you tell them you're suicidal, they'll send you to a Suboxone clinic. That was my goal at the time.
Yeah.
And anyway, I went in there. The doctor, they kept me for 24 hours. I was already really sick, and he sent me the next day to what I thought was going to be a Suboxone clinic, but it was a homeless shelter, which I had been in before. And from there, I had to stay 24 hours there, and then they would send me to the Suboxone clinic. But after being at the shelter a few hours, it was probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, 28 degrees outside. I decided to leave the shelter that night. And if you leave, you can't come back till the next day. But I was out of my mind. I was crazy. Sure. I was hallucinating. I was probably 2 or 3 days by this time with no heroin.
You were in Dallas at this?
In a really bad part of town as well. But 28 degrees, I had a sleeping bag that a man in the shelter, ironically named Buddha, gave me the sleeping bag. So that's all I had. And I left the shelter and I walked about 100 yards down the road, and it was 28 degrees. It was freezing. And I was so sick and so tired. I just really collapsed on the sidewalk and covered myself up with the sleeping bag, and I began to cry out to God. And I said, Lord, please save me or kill me, because I cannot live like this anymore. And when you say that a while ago, that's where I got saved.
Yeah,
I believe that on that sidewalk. And through a series of events that only God could orchestrate, He brought me from Texas to Mobile, Alabama. I had never been to Alabama, did not know a soul in Alabama, never thought I'd be in Alabama. And He brought me to Wings of Life. That's a whole long story, a God story, but He brought me here.
So He coordinated events that just that are clear.
That only He could orchestrate this, that for me to come to Wings. And walked in the door, and I completely, surrendered my life to the Lord once I walked in.
Real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
Only because you put these words to it, and I don't know how much more dark and demonic it could get from what you had talked about. When you say that, what do you mean? What made this time more dark and demonic?
I felt like I truly was having a nervous breakdown every single day.
Fully possessed by the addiction.
Possessed. Like I couldn't get high anymore.
Can't get high. When they tell you when you leave and you do this, that 7 times worse.
It
is.
And I was hearing
demonic,
voices,
and it's
just things that had never happened before. Crazy. Just it was really in my mind mostly. A lot of craziness happening, but. Anyway, came to the Wings, walked in the door, surrendered my life. Not easy by any means, but I was a very broken woman. I had lost full custody, even though I got custody. Remember 2 years earlier?
Yeah.
I lost custody with no rights, was only allowed supervised visitations with my son. A lot had happened. I was a broken woman. I hated myself. And but I surrendered to God, and God began to meet me where I was every step of the way. and just love on me. And the Wings of Life showed me a lot of grace and love and mercy. And when I got there, he was there, had been there about 3 years, but he was the outreach coordinator at the time. And I was a student, just coming in the program. So, I mean, we didn't even talk. There was no kind of communication. I mean, It wasn't anything like that at all. But I joined the outreach team probably a month or two after being there because I wanted to, I just wanted to do something different and get out of the wings, really was the whole point of it at the beginning. But actually what happened was I started going out and serving in all these we would go to different neighborhoods every weekend, low income, drug infested neighborhoods. We would do outreaches. So we would set up games for the kids, and then we would eventually have, testimonies and tell people about the Lord and all that good stuff. But what happened in the midst of all that was I started getting less selfish because I was out serving and doing all that, and God was really beginning to show me what love is. Yeah. And in the he was the outreach coordinator, but again, we never even spoke. He was a very serious person, very, very devoted to the Lord. He didn't date, he didn't do anything like that, and I didn't. In fact, as I said earlier, men were a major issue for me. Right. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing that I had to get delivered from as well, not just drugs and alcohol. And so that took a little time. Because there was men in the program. I didn't do anything with the men in the program, but they were there. Sure. So it was always an issue of looking and things like that. And one day I remember being in the program.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today.
And there was a man in the program that I thought was good looking. And so I would always knew when I would see him at certain times of the day. Even though we couldn't talk, the eye contact was enough for me. It would keep me going for hours. It was so sick. And I remember knowing, I'm going to see him at 2:00. I'm going to go get cute. And I got down there and I saw him. We got the eye contact going on and went back up the stairs. And as I'm walking up the stairs that day, I heard that still small voice that said, "Do you really want to change?" And it stopped me dead in my tracks because it was like, you're clean, you're sober, you're not doing those things, but you're doing the things you've always done. And I went and I remember kneeling down at my bed at the Wings of Life and crying and saying, "Lord, please deliver me from this." Because I know this is it. This is the thing that's going to always take me back. It's going to kill me, not the drugs. I mean, this right here. And through time and through a process of me going to war with it, he delivered me from that. And I even put I went to Texas to visit my son and my mom for the first time after being at Wings 5 months. And on the way back to Mobile, they were selling purity rings in the airport for $9.99. And I remember buying one and putting it on my left hand.
I love that.
Just to portray to people that I'm married. They didn't know what it was.
Right.
Yeah. Because, we would go all over the city doing outreaches, going to all these different churches. And before then, I was always looking for my husband. Oh, might be my husband or, whatever. But once I put that ring on, I knew God was delivering me. I was committed. I wanted people to think I was married. I didn't want men to approach me. Like, I knew I was changing then when I didn't care about that thing anymore. And it was over 2 years later of us working together, on outreach and, really not even talking too much during that 2 years. One day,
Yeah, we had a group of us as friends. We would all go do ministry together, and I was celibate for 5 years because of my past and my toxic relationships.
Yeah.
I was the same way. I knew this is an area of my life that if I open this door, it's going to take me back.
I can't compromise.
So I would continually go to war with that part of my life and say, Lord, I'm putting this on the altar. I'll be single forever. I just want to serve you, And so, yeah. But we had a group of friends, and we'd all do ministry together. But I was pretty focused.
Yeah.
People actually thought, like, man, this guy's scary. You know, 'cause I had hard boundaries up because, I needed them at that time in my life.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, and when you're single and you work in ministry that it's co-ed, especially in staff, you would have to.
You have to be
you
wise.
have to avoid all appearances of evil and live above reproach. You can't
Amen.
even make people think you're thinking that way because people take it the wrong way. So, but we had a lot of fun out there with the kids, and I noticed her immediately, like just the way that she would love. I was a rapper, believe it or not. That was my first ministry, so that's what we would do. We'd go set up stages and we'd rap, and I had these other young guys I was mentoring at the time.
That was before the gray beard.
Yeah, before the gray beard, and I've calmed down a little bit over the years.
Did you rap your first date proposition? Or what?
Did we do that?
No.
But she used to dance for me a little bit. But I just noticed how she would work with the kids, and she was a leader. Like she would go out and just get things done, and I was like, man, I really like that. And I wasn't even looking at her that way, but I just didn't. I noticed she loved the kids. She would just sit with them all day and play games with them and talk with them, and I just really started finding myself admiring her kindness toward others. And we used to take baskets, we'd fill them with things you can't buy with food stamps, like washing powder and things that you need in a house for the single moms. And I remember opening my office door one day because we had strict regulations of complete separation between the sexes. Yeah. And she'll tell you, I was a stickler for that. But
I can see that.
She was down there working, putting together the baskets for the outreach. And when I opened the door, our eyes locked. And that was it. I knew.
And the angels sang.
I said, what in the world
Literally,
is this?
I think, literally God opened our eyes to each other at that moment. That does sound crazy.
No,
it does, but it literally happened then. It was just, it was weird. I'm like,
I immediately shut the door and I ran like Joseph. I spent the next week like thinking, man, am I going crazy? What's going on?
Me too. I did too.
Yeah.
But.
And I did. I went to my pastor and I shared with him. I said, listen, I just need to tell you, like, this is happening and I'm not sure what to do with it.
That's neat.
What do you need me to kick her out of the outreach ministry or what? We need to. And he said, oh, why don't y'all court?
He said, would you like to start courting?
And I was like, what is that?
Courting? What's that?
I've been at court before. I don't want to go back there.
Our first date was at Walmart with a chaperone.
Yes.
We went walking around Walmart with a chaperone.
We did have it. We had a chaperone for several months.
I love it.
Yeah. But I had been at Wings over 2 years by this point when this happened. So, And I was actually about to be working there as well. So we had the approval of our pastor to do that. But we did everything in decent and in order. Yeah. Like Amen. I said, chaperones and...
And I knew she'd be my wife.
Yeah.
Because that's really what I had prayed.
We knew we were going to get married.
I said, Lord, and I just knew I'm going to marry her and we're going to do ministry together.
That's awesome. How long have you guys been married?
10 years.
No.
She's testing you.
11, 12.
No, we got married in 2014.
Okay, so 11 years. 11. Going on 12.
Yeah, I'm about to be 12.
You get a C, but that's
okay. So I guess being friends with both of y'all on Facebook, y'all just posted a memory the other day, and I'll have to pull it up. And somebody said something. I know that it was y'all, though, and they said, like, this must be when it began. And y'all were, like, way back, and you didn't have the gray beard.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's before that picture was taken. That was early on. We were nowhere near. It was probably a year before God opened our eyes to each other. Yeah. It was a picture at the concert. A bunch of us went. Erica Bird. Yeah. There's a bunch of us that went.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah.
I want to say, I'm going to try to get this word out because I was getting emotional, but what he thinks that's funny. No, as a mother that's still fighting for her son and you lost your son, and I know that while you have a restoration in that area, the Lord used your mother's heart in that ministry, and that is actually what first caught your eye, the heart for that. And I was just like, okay, well, that's beautiful, and that's something only the Lord could do.
Yes.
It's like you didn't lose this gift. For a while, you're going to be separate, and this is why. But he can still use that, and that's what caught you. And I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, and she's been completely restored, got complete custody of her son.
Yeah.
And he came to live with us at a very crucial moment in his life as a 13-year-old whose father was still on drugs and in and out of prison and a lot of behavioral issues.
And it happened, suddenly.
Yeah.
It was, God had told me early on when I got to the Wings of Life, I was in prayer one morning. He did tell me I would get my son back one day, but honestly, his grandmother on his dad's side had him. She hated my guts. She wasn't a Christian. And it felt a lot of times like that was never going to happen. I'm like, there's no way. And I have so many stories, that are interlocked and interwoven, how he proved his word over and over and over again over the next 5 years. But when God called us to Texas and he was offered, actually what God told me early on was moving to Texas would be the key to getting my son back. And by this time, when God told me that, my son and his grandparents were now living in North Carolina. So that made no sense at all to me.
Right.
But then fast forward 5 years later, now I see my son in the midst. I mean, it's not like I didn't see him at all, but I didn't have him and he lived in a whole other state. And so it's heartbreaking. It's it's a torture. But my husband got offered a job in Texas after 5 years of us working at the Wings. And it wasn't long after getting there that his grandmother called me up on the phone one day and said, I think it's time you have your son back. It literally happened suddenly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is hope. God's...
Yeah.
Now we got a new grandbaby.
Oh, amen.
He's married.
And they live 1 mile from us.
Yeah,
That's
Mobile.
awesome.
So it's
And y'all are
beautiful.
back.
And he married a pastor's daughter. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
And y'all are back in Mobile, directors now
Yes.
of the same ministry.
We've been back, 3 years now?
Yeah, I've been back going on 4 years.
3.5. I can't.
God's really, so, because of both of our experience, her losing her son, me growing up as a foster kid, and working with so many people in recovery that feel the need to run out and get their kids, what we've done at the Wings is we've created a family program. So we actually take kids with their parents in our program.
That is just
and we as a
Wonderful.
community help them. And DHR has actually worked with us on a few cases where the kids can come and stay with us. And, because... we just want to see the whole family healed.
Amen.
And that's what we desire, and that's
That
what
is
God has
just
done in our life.
so needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from the 30,000-foot view, it looks like you guys stepped into your newfound lives, got married, and everything's been wonderful. I am sure there have been some sanctifying moments in the marriage. Would that be fair to say? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how it works. I want to be respectful of your time, though. But I do want to ask you guys this as we kind of come in for a landing here. You both reached a place of kind of self-loathing and suicidality. How do you feel about yourselves today? What is that?
I feel wonderful about myself. Yeah, I have confidence. I'm at peace. That's one thing I never could say before. I'm at peace. I'm confident. Another thing is my nursing license was completely reinstated back to me after 18 years of not having a license. Another miracle.
That's awesome.
Another long story, but amazing. God did that too. And so I feel blessed. I feel happy. Yes, we ups and downs. Life is life, but overall, I'm good.
Amen.
Really good. Yeah.
And Brandon?
Yeah, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just really grateful. God has been really good to me. I love the man that I'm becoming, but I know it's only because of him.
Amen.
I appreciate having a family that respects me, that trusts me, that can depend on me.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for that because I know that it's not me. It's
Yeah.
Christ in me.
Yes.
I know who I am without him, and that keeps me grounded. And so,
I love that.
Your dad. How did you? I don't want to leave without that.
yeah, well, my dad got out of prison after 25 years. He actually pleaded to a 55-year manslaughter charge and got a 55-year sentence and ended up getting out. Never accepted Christ in prison because he saw so much hypocrisy. Yeah, I'd gotten saved, and I was doing a lot of ministry. I mean, I got on fire for the Lord, working with kids, working in the prisons, things of that nature. I was doing I was praying. God showed me, he spoke to me, I felt one day, and said, you'll lay hands on your father and he'll be healed. And I thought he was talking about physically. And so I'm in Indiana doing a 5-day prison revival. We're in the prison morning and night. We got about 400 men. We baptized about 300 guys.
That's amazing.
And I was preaching about sonship, Romans chapter 8. that we haven't received the spirit of bondage again unto fear, but we received the spirit of adoption by which we cry out, Abba, Father. Because that's kind of the message of my life with God.
Yeah.
When I got saved, I felt the Lord said, you're not an orphan, you're a son. And I'm your father, and I love you. And my journey's been a healing process of that father wound being healed in my life, that lack of acceptance, that need for affirmation that I tried to find in the world, I now find in Christ and in God. And so I felt the Lord spoke to me and impressed in me, it's time for you to go see your dad. So I did. I called an aunt who had started following my ministry and was so proud of what God was doing in my life. And it was his sister. And I said, do you think you can set up a meeting? And we had talked periodically here and there. He knew the change that had happened in my life. And I went to Laverne, Alabama, outside of Montgomery. And we sat and we talked for hours. And he cried. Now, I'd never seen my dad cry. And he allowed me. I looked at him and told him, I'm your son and I love you and I forgive you.
Wow.
And I said, God has been so good to me. And I know he's been good to you. And I want you to know his goodness. He allowed me to pray for him.
Wow.
And he received Jesus in his life. He said, I'm not a devil. I said, I know you're not. You're a son like me. So I prayed for him and we hugged. And a year later, he died.
That is just,
I believe
it is
he
still
died
powerful.
saved.
You can't.
Yeah.
So...
So powerful.
Yeah, my older sister was able to reconcile with him.
She was there with him
She
when
was
he
actually there
passed.
when he passed away. So I immediately called her because she had gotten saved. I think my life had kind of impacted her life, and
Yeah.
she
Well, you
went-
talked about the ripple effects that are addiction.
Yeah,
well,
same thing.
What does our redemption do
Yeah.
to those that watched our fall?
So
Right.
it ended well. So God has restored all of those relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all know it's not just a fan. I mean, there is a lot of hard, intentional work that we do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moments of failure, but failure is a tutor. We get back up. We keep moving forward. I think connection is the greatest thing in our life. But I tell people, man, if you don't stay connected, you're not going to make it. You have to stay
That
connected
is so true.
to people that
That's
love
right.
you, people that have faith, people that can speak life into you.
Yeah.
That's what's going to help you keep moving forward.
And
So,
sometimes life can come in correction, but that's the people that you need.
Yeah.
correction is direction.
Yeah.
That's what we tell them.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
But staying connected really is the key, right? He's very clear that again, if we fall off that vine or if we depart from it, we're going to shrivel up and not do well, right? It doesn't mean necessarily loss of salvation, but it would certainly be loss of quality relationship with him.
Sir.
And that's sad enough.
You think about it, community.
Yeah.
That's what we're really looking
Yeah.
for in addiction.
Yeah.
But addiction promises you community, but leads you to isolation.
Yeah. Much like the gang life.
Yeah.
Right? That's same.
And then God, he starts with you as an individual, but draws you into the community.
Yeah.
And as you're in the
family.
community, you continue to grow and thrive and live the life that God has promised us. So
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. Your story is inspiring and one that is still moving forward in such wonderful ways. And
Thank
so,
y'all.
yeah.
Thank y'all for having us.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's interesting how the catch points as you got into your addiction, angry and resentful, introduced to a drug that made you feel euphoria and peaceful, right? There are lots of ways in.
Yeah.
There are lots of ways in. But for the eternal escape, there's only one way out, and that way is Jesus, right? There's lots of ways to sobriety, but there's only one way for eternal sobriety. And that to me really is the point, right? Paul said it best. He said, look, if the message we bring to you is foolishness, then we're the biggest fools of all, because eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. So if there is no God, then carry on. But if there is, and we believe there is, then it's the eternal peace that you're missing if you are currently sober and white knuckling it and fighting to stay sober. What you're missing is the power that comes from outside yourself. What you're missing is Jesus. And the reason I asked them how they feel about themselves today, for sure, to paint the contrast of where addiction tends to take many, right? This is, if you follow this show, this isn't the first time you heard somebody say they were suicidal and self-loathing. It is a common ending place of addiction. What the Lord says is that there are two primary commandments. The first is to love him with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Probably messing that up. But then he says the second is like it, to love others as we love ourselves. Guys, loving yourself is a product of loving him first, because you see yourself, not just others. You heard Brandon talk about praying, let me see my dad through your eyes. He will also allow you to see you through through his eyes. And that's the beauty of it, right? None of us are more inherently deserving of salvation than anybody else. We're all wholeheartedly undeserving of it, which brings us to that place that Brandon talked about of gratitude. That's our connection. Gratitude is our connection to a loving God. Whew, guys, if you're struggling, turn to him, please, right? We love you. More importantly, Jesus loves you. We'll see you next time on Jesus Loves Addicts.